Kicked out with nothing, we found a hidden tunnel, but it came with a secret that changed everything. Before we dive in, become part of our YouTube family by hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to like the video and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Now, let's begin the story. The night I turned 18 didn't feel like a beginning. It felt like an ending I wasn't ready for. I remember the exact sound of the door closing behind us. It wasn't just loud, it was final. Like something in our lives had been sealed shut forever. I stood there for a moment, staring at the chipped paint on the door, half expecting it to open again. It didn't. Now what? My sister asked quietly. Her voice was steady, but I knew her too well. She only sounded like that when she was trying not to fall apart. She was younger than me by 2 years, but in that moment, she looked smaller than she ever had. Not physically, just lost. I adjusted the strap of my backpack and forced myself to look away from the house. "We walk," I said. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have anything except the need to keep moving. We left without saying another word. The streetlights buzzed faintly above us as we walked down the empty road. Every step felt heavier than it should have. Like something inside me was resisting the idea that this was real. I kept expecting someone to call out to us. A neighbor, a passing car, anyone. No one did. After a while, my sister spoke again. "Do you think he'll come after us?" I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. "No," I said finally. She nodded, like she already knew that too. The road stretched on, turning from pavement into gravel, and then into nothing more than a narrow dirt path. The further we went, the quieter everything became. No cars, no houses, just the sound of our footsteps and the occasional rustle of wind through trees. That's when I realized something. We weren't just leaving home. We were disappearing. The woods came into view just as the last of the light faded from the sky. Tall, dark shapes rising like walls around us. It should have felt dangerous. It should have scared me. But compared to what we had just left behind, it felt better. "We can stay here tonight," I said. My sister hesitated. "In there?" I nodded. "It's better than the road." She looked at the trees for a long moment, then back at me. Okay. That was the thing about her. She trusted me, even when I didn't deserve it, even when I had no idea what I was doing. We stepped into the woods together. The air felt colder almost immediately. The ground was uneven, covered in leaves and roots that caught at our shoes. It took a while, but we eventually found a small clearing, just enough space to sit without feeling completely surrounded. "This works," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. We dropped our bags and sat down. Neither of us spoke for a while. I could tell she was waiting for me to say something reassuring, something that would make all of this feel less overwhelming. But the truth was, I didn't have anything like that. So instead, I said the only thing I could. I'll figure it out." She gave a small nod and leaned against me. I wrapped an arm around her shoulders, more for her comfort than mine. The night stretched on slowly. Every sound felt amplified. The snapping of twigs, the distant call of something unseen, the whisper of wind moving through branches. I stayed awake, listening to everything, watching the darkness like it might suddenly come alive. At some point, I realized something else. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was responsible. Not just for myself, but for her. And that changed everything. Sometime before sunrise, exhaustion finally caught up to me. When I woke up, the light filtering through the trees felt unreal. For a moment, I forgot where we were. Then I saw my sister curled up beside me, still asleep, and it all came rushing back. I sat up slowly, careful not to wake her. My body ached. My head felt heavy. But there wasn't time to focus on that. We needed food, water, something. I stood and looked around the clearing, trying to think. That's when I heard her voice. "Hey, come here." I turned toward the sound. She was standing a few steps away, near a cluster of thick bushes and tangled roots. "What is it?" I asked, walking over. She didn't answer right away. She just pointed. At first, I didn't see anything. Just dirt, vines, and shadows. Then I noticed it. A gap. Small, narrow, almost completely hidden beneath the overgrowth. I stepped closer, crouching down to get a better look. My fingers brushed against the edges, pushing aside some of the vines. It wasn't natural. The opening was too smooth, too deliberate. "It's a hole," she said. "No," I replied quietly. "It's not." I cleared more of the vines away, revealing the shape more clearly. It was an entrance, a tunnel. We both stared at it in silence. "Do you think someone made it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. They did. The air coming from inside felt different, cooler, heavier, like it had been sealed away for a long time. "We shouldn't go in," she said, even as she took a small step closer. I didn't respond immediately. Every instinct I had told me to walk away, that this was dangerous, that we didn't know what was inside, but another thought pushed its way forward. We had nothing. No food, no shelter, no plan. And this was something. I looked at her. She looked back at me. Neither of us said it out loud. We didn't have to. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam of light cut into the darkness, revealing a narrow path that sloped downward. I took a breath. "We're just going to look," I said. She nodded, though I could see the fear in her eyes. I reached out and took her hand. "Stay close." Together, we stepped toward the opening. The moment we crossed into the tunnel, the air shifted. The sounds of the forest faded behind us, replaced by something quieter, heavier. Our footsteps echoed softly as we moved forward. The light from my phone barely reached the walls, and with every step, the feeling grew stronger. This place wasn't just hidden. It was meant to be, and as we walked deeper into the darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling that we hadn't just found the tunnel. We had just stepped into something that was waiting for us. The deeper we moved into the tunnel, the more the outside world seemed to disappear. At first, I kept glancing back, making sure the entrance was still there, that we could still leave if we needed to. But after a few turns, the light from outside faded completely, swallowed by the darkness behind us. It was just us now, and whatever this place was. "Do you hear that?" my sister whispered. I paused. At first, there was nothing. Then, a faint sound. Not a voice, not footsteps, just something distant, like air moving through a narrow space. "It's probably just wind," I said. Probably. But even as I said it, I wasn't fully convinced. We kept going. The tunnel wasn't straight. It curved slightly, the ground uneven beneath our feet. The walls felt rough when I brushed against them, but not like natural rock. There were marks, subtle, but there. Lines, scratches. Someone had carved this. That thought should have made me feel better. It meant this place had a purpose, that it wasn't random. But instead, it raised a different question. Why? "Wait," my sister said suddenly, tightening her grip on my hand. I stopped immediately. "What?" She pointed ahead. At first, I thought it was just shadow. But as I focused, I realized the darkness there was. Different, wider. "Is that?" She started. "Yeah," I said. The tunnel opened up. We stepped forward carefully, the beam of my phone stretching out into a larger space. As the light spread, the shape of the room revealed itself slowly, like it didn't want to be fully seen all at once. It wasn't big, but it was enough to stand in comfortably. And it wasn't empty. "There's stuff," she said, her voice barely above a breath. She was right. Against one wall, there were wooden shelves, old and worn, but still standing. A chair sat in the corner, one leg slightly broken but balanced against the wall. A metal container rested nearby, its surface dull and scratched. This wasn't just a tunnel. It was a place someone had lived. I stepped further inside, my chest tightening. "Stay close," I said again, though she hadn't let go of me for a second. We moved slowly, taking everything in. Nothing looked new. Dust covered most surfaces, and the air had that stale, closed feeling. But at the same time, it didn't feel abandoned in the way I expected. It felt paused, like someone had left, but not forever. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked. I looked around. "No," I said after a moment. "How do you know?" I didn't, but something about the silence told me everything I needed to know. "If they were coming back," I said quietly, "they would have already." She didn't respond, but I could feel her relax just a little. I walked over to the metal container and crouched down in front of it. "This might have something useful," I said. "Or something dangerous," she replied. I almost smiled. Only one way to find out. The lid resisted at first, like it hadn't been opened in a long time. I had to use both hands, pulling harder until it finally gave way with a sharp creak that echoed. Through the space, we both froze, waiting, listening. Nothing happened. Slowly, I lifted the lid all the way. And then, wait, what? Inside the container wasn't what I expected. Not junk, not trash. Supplies, carefully placed, like someone had organized them with purpose. Canned food, a folded blanket, a small box of matches, even a flashlight. "Are you serious?" my sister said, stepping closer. I picked up one of the cans, turning it in my hand. It was old but not damaged. This is good," I said, more to myself than to her. It was more than good. It was everything we didn't have. "Check the rest," she said quickly. A hint of excitement breaking through her fear. I nodded and reached deeper into the container. That's when I found it. A notebook. It was tucked beneath the other items, partially hidden, like it mattered more than everything else. I pulled it out carefully. The cover was worn, the edges frayed. But it was intact. "Open it," she said. I hesitated. I don't know why. Maybe because, somehow, this felt more personal than the rest. The supplies were practical, useful. This was something else. Still, I opened it. The first page was filled with handwriting. Not neat, not messy. Just real. "Is it a journal?" she asked. "Yeah," I said quietly. I scanned the first few lines, my eyes moving quickly at first, then slowing as the words started to sink in. "They found this place too," I said. "What?" "Whoever wrote this, they were here, before us." She stepped closer, trying to read over my shoulder. "What does it say?" I swallowed. "It says they didn't have anywhere else to go." The words hung in the air between us, same as us. I flipped to another page. More writing, more entries. Days marked by short notes, thoughts, observations, plans. They had lived here, not for a day, not for a week, for a long time. "What happened to them?" she asked softly. I didn't answer, because I didn't see anything that explained that. No final entry, no goodbye, just silence. I closed the notebook slowly. The room felt different now, not just a place. A story, one we had just stepped into. "We can stay here," my sister said suddenly. I looked at her. "What?" "We can stay," she repeated. "Just for a while, until we figure things out." I hesitated. Every part of me knew this wasn't normal, that this wasn't how things were supposed to go. But then I thought about the road, the cold, the way she had looked last night. And then I looked at this place again. Shelter, supplies, a chance. "Okay," I said. Her expression changed instantly. Not fully happy, but lighter, like a weight had shifted. "Really?" "Yeah," I said. "Really." For the first time since everything happened, I felt like I had made a decision that actually mattered. We spent the next hour cleaning up a small area, moving things around, making space for ourselves. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close. But it was something. And something was enough. That night, we sat side by side against the wall, wrapped in the old blanket we found. The flashlight rested between us, casting a dim glow across the room. It wasn't comfortable, but it was safe. Safer than anywhere else we had been. "Do you think we'll be okay?" she asked quietly. I looked at her. This time I didn't hesitate. "Yeah," I said. And for the first time, I almost believed it. She leaned her head against my shoulder and closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep. I stayed awake a little longer, staring at the notebook in my hands. Something about it bothered me. Not in a bad way. Just unfinished, like there was more to it than we had seen. I opened it again, flipping through the pages more carefully this time. Most of it was the same, daily notes, small details, until I reached near the back. There, the writing changed. Shorter, sharper, different. My chest tightened as I read the last visible line on the page. "They're closer than I thought." I froze. Slowly, I turned the page. Blank. I flipped another. Blank. That was it. No explanation. No ending. Just that one sentence. Hanging there. They're closer than I thought. A cold feeling settled in my chest. I looked up, scanning the dark corners of the room instinctively, listening. The silence felt heavier now, different. And, for the first time since we entered the tunnel, I wasn't sure we were alone anymore. I didn't sleep that night. The words from the notebook kept replaying in my head over and over again. They're closer than I thought. At first, I told myself it didn't mean anything. It could have been anything. Animals, people, even. Just fear turning into words on a page. But the longer I sat there in the dim light, listening to the silence of the tunnel, the harder it became to ignore the feeling growing inside me. Something wasn't right. I glanced at my sister. She was still asleep, her breathing slow and steady, her face finally at peace after everything we had been through. I couldn't let anything happen to her. Not here, not after we had just found something that felt like hope. Carefully, I stood up, trying not to make any noise. The floor shifted slightly under my weight, and I paused, listening. Nothing. Still silence. I picked up the flashlight and turned it on, the beam cutting through the darkness in a sharp line. The edges of the room looked the same as before. Old shelves, the broken chair, the container. Normal. But it didn't feel normal anymore. I stepped toward the tunnel entrance, each movement slow and deliberate. My heart was beating louder than my footsteps, and I had to focus, just to keep my breathing steady. "It's nothing," I whispered to myself. "You're just overthinking." I reached the narrow passage we had come through, and shined the light down it. Empty. Just a long stretch of uneven ground disappearing into darkness. I stared at it for a moment longer, then let out a quiet breath. "See?" I muttered. "Nothing." But as I turned to go back, I heard it. A faint sound, so soft I almost missed it, like something brushing against the wall. I froze. Every part of my body went still. "Hello?" I called out, my voice low but steady. No answer. Of course, there was no answer. I took a step forward, raising the flashlight slightly. The beam trembled just a little in my hand. "Probably just water," I said, though there was no dripping sound. Or air. Another step. Another sound. This time I knew I hadn't imagined it. Something was there. Not moving fast. Not rushing. Just there. My grip tightened around the flashlight. "Who's there?" I said louder this time. The tunnel swallowed my voice, throwing it back at me in a distorted echo. For a moment, everything went completely still again. Then, a shift. Subtle. But enough. I took a step back. Not out of fear. Out of instinct. Whatever this was, I wasn't ready to face it blindly. I turned and walked quickly back to the room, my mind racing. "Wake up," I said softly, kneeling beside my sister. "Hey, wake up!" She stirred, blinking slowly. "What's wrong?" I hesitated. I didn't want to scare her, but I couldn't lie either. "I think we're not alone here." That woke her up instantly. "What?" "I heard something," I said. "You know, the tunnel." She sat up, her eyes searching mine. "Are you sure?" "No," I admitted. "But I'm not going to risk it." She nodded slowly, fear creeping back into her expression. "So what do we do?" I looked around the room, at the supplies, at the notebook, at the place that had already started to feel like ours. And then I realized something. "We don't run," I said. Her eyebrows pulled together. "What?" "We don't run," I repeated, firmer this time. "Not yet." "Why?" "Because we had already run once. Because we had already lost everything once. Because if we kept running every time something scared us, we would never have anything that was truly ours. Because this place," I said, glancing around, "this could be our chance." She didn't respond right away. She just watched me, studying me, like she was trying to decide if I really believed what I was saying. The truth? I wasn't sure. But I needed to. "For once," I continued, "we don't leave. We figure it out." Silence. Then slowly, she nodded. "Okay," she said. That was all. No argument, no hesitation, just trust. And this time, I wasn't going to fail her. We spent the next hour preparing, not for a fight, but for control. We moved things around to give ourselves a better view of the tunnel entrance. I kept the flashlight ready, along with anything we could use to defend ourselves if it came to that. Every sound felt louder now. Every second stretched longer. Then it came again, clearer this time. Footsteps, slow, careful, coming from the tunnel. My sister grabbed my arm. "It's coming," she whispered. "I know," I said. My heart was pounding so hard it almost hurt. The sound grew closer. Step, pause. Step, pause. Like whoever, or whatever it was just as cautious as we were. The beam of my flashlight locked onto the tunnel entrance. And then a figure appeared. Not fully, just a shape at first. Then more. A person, thin, covered in dirt, eyes wide from the sudden light. We all froze, staring at each other. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, "Wait," the person said, raising their hands slightly. Don't be scared." Their voice was weak, tired, human. Not a threat. Not what I expected. "Who are you?" I asked. They hesitated, then glanced around the room, at the shelves, at the container, at the notebook in my hand. Their expression changed. Recognition. "You found it," they said quietly. My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" They took a slow step forward, still keeping their distance. "This place," they said. I used to stay here." Everything went still. The notebook, the supplies, the unfinished words. It all clicked at once. "You wrote this," I said, holding up the notebook. They nodded. "I had to leave," they said. "I thought no one would ever find it again." My sister and I exchanged a glance. "What did you mean?" I asked carefully. "In the notebook. When you said, 'They're closer than I thought.'" The person's expression shifted again. Not fear, something else, something heavier. "I didn't mean something in the tunnel," they said. I felt my stomach drop. "Then what did you mean?" They looked at both of us, at our bags, at the way we stood close together, at everything we had clearly been through. And then they said something that hit harder than anything else that night. "I meant the world outside." Silence filled the room, a different kind of silence. Not fear of something hidden in the dark, but the realization of something much bigger. "You're not safe out there," they continued quietly. "Not like you think." My sister's grip tightened on my arm. I felt it too. That shift, that understanding. We thought we had escaped something, but maybe we had only just stepped into something else. I looked around the room again, at the place we had already started calling home, at the person who had survived here before us, at my sister, who was still standing beside me, trusting me to make the right choice. And in that moment, something inside me changed. Not fear, not doubt, resolve. "We're not leaving," I said. Both of them looked at me, surprised. "Not now," I added. "Not until we understand what's really going on." The person studied me for a moment. Then slowly, they nodded. "Then you're going to need to know everything," they said. The air in the tunnel felt different again. Not empty, not unknown, but full of something waiting to be revealed. And as I tightened my grip on the flashlight, I realized getting kicked out of our home wasn't the worst thing that had happened to us. It was the thing that led us here, to this place, to this moment, to whatever was coming next. And somehow, I knew this was only the beginning.